Look up from your phone for 1 second. Not the usual glance. Not the social scroll. Look up like you mean it, and notice how automatic everything feels. The breath that's been there since you were born. The ringtone that snaps your attention like a fishing hook. The small voice that tells you who you are before you even think. Most people call that waking. It's not. That is stage 1, the sleeping world. It looks like life because your senses are open. But inside, a whole machine runs on autopilot. Habits, reactions, shame, stories from childhood. They pull levers you never agreed to. You chase, you compare, you numb, you defend. The news tells you what to fear. Your past tells you who you are. The future tells you what to worry about. You act. The world acts back. The drama feels real because it's immediate. Intelligence and reasoning can be brilliant here, and still the person is asleep. High-functioning amnesia is the modern default. If someone convinces you that being busy equals being alive, you're in stage 1. Then something cracks. A job loss, a breakup, a panic attack, seeing a truth so blunt it won't fit inside your old story. That rupture looks like collapse, but for some people it is the beginning of waking. Welcome to stage 2, the false awakening. You start to see the matrix. You notice patterns. How religions can pacify, how media programs fear, how institutions reproduce themselves. Knowledge arrives. You read banned books. You watch midnight lectures. You trade one belief for another. You're awake, you tell yourself. And there's a delicious rush in being the one who sees through things. Stage 2 tempts with a new identity. The enlightened skeptic, the rebel knower. But the trap is subtle. You replace the old programming with a new ego costume. Awareness becomes a signal of superiority. Seeing the manipulation becomes another way to feel special. The mind still hunts for confirmation, still replays old emotional loops, only now in a different costume. That's why so many seekers stall here. They dismantle illusions, but keep the same internal hunger. That is not liberation. It's redecorated captivity. If the path continues, something quieter arrives. The frantic unmasking gives way to observation. This is stage 3, the witness. It's one sentence. Who is noticing? That question is a hinge. Suddenly thoughts are events that pass through you. Anger rises. You notice it. Shame arrives. You see it. Desire pulls, and you watch the pull without being consumed. The witness is not cold. It's precise and compassionate. It interrupts compulsive identifications. You learn to pause long enough to choose a different response. The witness is a muscle you strengthen through practice, breath, simple attention, a daily refusal to follow every thought. In this stage, the nervous system calms. Patterns lose their absolute grip. You stop being dragged by every outside trigger. This is where real maturity begins. The capacity to meet life without automatic collapse. The witness sees both shadow and light and refuses to be owned by either. But there's a final threshold most teachers avoid because words blunt it. Stage 4, source awareness. In stage 3, you watch the contents of consciousness. In stage 4, you begin to recognize the ground itself. You no longer only witness events. You begin to sense the presence in which events appear. That presence is not a thought, not an emotion, not a role. It is the open field that makes perception possible. Language fails here because words point outward and source points inward. Suddenly identity shifts. You feel less like a small self-navigating experience and more like the awareness in which experience happens. time softens. The urgency that fed your earlier choices becomes optional. You still pay bills, suffer loss, feel grief, but the relationship to these things changes. Pain is met by the presence that holds it. Joy is tasted without grasping. Source awareness is not a warm new personality trait. It is a radical reorientation. The center of gravity of the self moves from identification with story to recognition of being. Why do most people stop before that? Comfort, pride, and fear. Stage 1 is familiar. Stage 2 is exciting. Stage 3 feels like enough. Source awareness requires a different surrender, not passive defeat, but relinquishing the neat identity you've built around being awake. The ego will gladly embrace spiritual accomplishments if they don't threaten its central role. And stage 4 asks for humility. The death of the "I found the truth" identity. That's scary. It asks you to risk losing the person who thinks it knows. So how do you move between these stages? Practical signals, not poetry. From 1 to 2. Rupture, curiosity, honest questioning. When something in you says, "This feels wrong," that's the crack. Follow it. Don't fix it yet. From 2 to 3. Practice simple attention. Stop debating every thought. Sit until the internal noise quiets. Track a single sensation, the breath, the weight of the body, and watch how stories keep interrupting. Every time you don't react, you strengthen the witness. From 3 to 4. Drop the final identity. Use attention to notice not only the contents of experience, but the one who notices. Turn the light inward. Ask, who is aware of this? Allow the question to rest. Don't seek an answer the mind can own. Let knowing arise uninvited. That is recognition, not acquisition. What changes when you actually reach stage 4? Everything and nothing. Your life remains full of tasks and pain, but your choices come from a different source. You act less from fear, less from compulsion, less to shore up an image of yourself. You respond from clarity. You love with fewer conditions because the self that needed constant proof has loosened. You become harder to manipulate because manipulation depends on predictable triggers. And you are no longer predictable. And yes, systems notice. This is not conspiracy fluff. It's simple mechanics. A person living on automatic is easy to sell to, easy to distract, easy to own. A person who witnesses is inconvenient. They won't be mobilized by outrage for long. A person who rests in source awareness is unpredictable. Their behavior escapes marketing profiles and political scoring because they don't act from fear or habit. That's why waking isn't only personal. It's political in the quietest way possible. A few practical steps to test if you're moving. Notice how quickly you react. If it's instant, you're likely in stage 1 or 2. Can you hold an uncomfortable feeling without narrating a story? If yes, you're touching the witness. Do you recognize a quality of presence that is not thought? If yes, that's a glimpse of source. Daily practices that accelerate movement. Interrupt autopilot with micro pauses. Stop 3 times a day for 5 breaths and watch what happens. Practice single point attention. 5 minutes of focused sensation with soft curiosity. Reduce stimulation. Late night screens, constant feeds, and loud arguments are training grounds for reactivity. Learn to be with pain without solving it immediately. The impulse to fix is often an egoic rescue mission. Serve without seeking identity from service. Action rooted in source is sustainable. Action rooted in self-drama exhausts you. Now, a blunt truth. Words can only point. Many people will read this and feel smarter. That won't change anything. Knowledge without practice is decoration. The point of these stages is not to become someone who can talk about awakening at parties. It is to reassemble your life so that your choices grow out of clarity rather than confusion. So what if you never move beyond stage 2? You'll still live a life that looks successful by many measures, but you'll be easily moved, reactive, and exhausted. You'll taste glimpses of freedom, sometimes in a quiet sunset, sometimes in a stranger's kindness, and then you'll return to the automatic. That's a tragic and very common loop. And what if you do reach source awareness? You don't float off. You return to the world with steadier hands. You become a reservoir for others who are still shaky. You make decisions from a place that sees consequences. You suffer, but suffering no longer defines you. You become the kind of person who can hold contradiction without collapsing. The work is not glamorous. It is precise. It is less about special experiences and more about fidelity to what is real. It is about refusing to trade presence for being right. You've been lied to by the culture that equates business with life. You've been misled by spiritual fashions that mistake knowledge for being. But the map was never complicated. The path is not a secret formula. It's daily attention, modest courage, and the willingness to let a few identities die so a truer one can live. One last thing. Awakening is not a personal trophy. The point is not to join a club of awakened people. The point is to stop adding more suffering to a world that already has enough. When you move toward source, your life becomes less about avoiding discomfort and more about bringing clarity where confusion causes pain. So breathe, notice, interrupt the autopilot. Find someone to teach you how to rest in the witness. Then rest there until something deeper recognizes itself. You were not born to stay asleep. You were born to see clearly, not because clarity tells you what to do, but because it removes the confusion that kept you from choosing with love and responsibility. That is all the map ever promised.